Welcome to this video about Project Shine. It's not the most professional of videos, but it does contain all that you need to know. All that you need to know about Project Shine, and then hopefully by the end of it, all that you need to know to play your part in Project Shine. So as we start, simply what is Project Shine? Project Shine is our project to knock down the existing church building in Marlow Bottom and to build a brand new one, fit for the worship of God, for building community and for shining the bright light of Jesus into Marlow Bottom and beyond. So let's get started and let's introduce you to the finance team of Project Shine.
Hi, I'm Graham. I'm the team vicar in Marlow Bottom where Project Shine is happening. We just want to introduce you to the Project Shine team.
Hi, I'm Jane Steele. I live in Marlow, have done so for 20 years. I'm currently a teacher and have experience in large-scale funding projects.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a retired head teacher with over 25 years of experience working with Marlow community, families and children.
Hi, I'm Bex. I've lived in Marlow Bottom for 6 years and I'm a chartered accountant.
So welcome to the Lantern Church here in Marlow Bottom. Let me take you on a tour. So when you come into the church, you can either go up the steps on that side or the slope on this side. And then you step up into our welcome hall or entrance hall. On the right here we have a vestry. And on the left here we have our kitchen. And then you come through into our main worship space, our main hall. We put the chairs out on a Sunday and get the Bibles out of the cupboards. And this is our communion table up the front here that during the week is behind big closed doors which enable us to hire out the room during the week. Over here we have another small little side room. And in the corner here are some toilets. So why do we need to change? Well, there's three reasons that we need to change the building. One is the building itself, two, the church itself, and three, the local community. So we could spend money, lots of money, making the building accessible, refurbishing it, bringing it up to scratch, if you were. But even if we did that, the building wouldn't be fit for purpose. We are a growing church. At the moment, we've got a couple of small children's groups on a Sunday who meet in really very small and uncomfortable surroundings. And we want them to grow into much bigger and flourishing groups. We've got a youth group on a Sunday evening. We've got a baby and toddler group. We've got a community corner ministry bringing young families and the senior citizens together, all of which would benefit from having a more variety of size of rooms. But it's not just the church that was going to benefit from this new building, it's the local community as well. Community space is dwindling in Marlow Bottom, whilst demand for community space is growing. Demand from various exercise and hobby groups, from groups like WI and our Valley Plus group here in Marlow Bottom. And we want to provide more space for them, for the Baden Powell groups that use our building, the Scouts, the Brownies, the Rainbows, the Beavers. We want to give more to them. That's why we've begun this project. And all the advice we've had, whether it's from VAT experts, from the feasibility studies that we've done, have said to us, knock the building down and build something new rather than just refurbish what we've got. So that's what we're going to do. So that is the need, and this is the plan that we've come up with to meet that need. Clearly, the plan is for a larger building, but not just a larger building, more car parking spaces down at the front, a nice flat entrance from Kingsley Drive, making it so much more accessible for everybody to get into the church. And also that lovely balcony design out the front of the church to look over the road and look over Marlow Bottom. And then inside the church, we have a much larger worship space, a variety of smaller rooms, a much more efficient and larger kitchen, more toilets, and 2 entrances, which means we can use the whole of the building at the same time, particularly in terms of hiring it out to more than one group at the same time. And all of this space inside will be so much better for the church as we seek to grow, especially in our children's and youth work, but also for the community and drawing the community into the building and serving the community through the building. And finally, what a wonderful building we'll end up with, a building for the community in the community. And with that cross on the front, reminding Marlow Bottom that the church is alive and active in the community and beyond.
So the most important question to ask of this project is it of God? Now, I need to be honest, we haven't had writing in the sky or a booming voice say to us, this is what you should be doing with your building. But at the same time, we have prayed a lot. This is 8 years in the direct planning, plus a number of false starts before that. We've prayed at church, we've prayed in the church council, we've prayed in prayer meetings, in the team council and with the diocese. We have bathed this in prayer. And we've obviously taken wise advice from godly people, from the diocese and from the team council, and obviously from the church council in Marlow Bottom. We've also been encouraged that the local parish council have been so supportive of us, as well as a good number of people in the local community when we've talked about it. We very much took it as a sign from the Lord when we were bowled over by the generosity of the church here in Marlow Bottom and the amount that they have given to the project. So we do believe that it is of God, this project, Project Shine. We do believe that he will steer us through it and journey with us to the end. And then after that, we'll use this building to bring glory to his name and build his church.
We just wanted to reassure you that we're not doing this alone. Right from the start, the Oxford Diocese had been totally with us, supporting us and advising us along the way. And they recommended Leap Architects, who we had already heard of, because Leap were the people who did the work on the Art Cafe at the Methodist Church in Marlow. And also Mark Gould, our previous curate, had worked with Leap on a project at his old church in Furs Platt. So they came well recommended, and they've been brilliant with us all along the way. They've drawn up designs, they've adapted those designs based on conversations with us, and they've sort of project managed us through to this point so far. And then obviously we've come time and time again to the 4U team through the team council, and it's why we're here today. They've given us permission to speak to each of the churches about this project. We've also talked and worked with the people who already use our building, like the Baden Powell groups, the Scouts and the Brownies, the Rainbows, etc. And they've been very helpful in advice that they've given. And the local school as well, Burford School, we've shown our plans to and talked with and developing ideas of, once we have this new building in place, how we can work more closely together with the school. But perhaps our biggest supporters in the local community have been Marlow Bottom Parish Council, who we've presented to a few times on this and who have been really, really supportive all along the way. And it's been a pleasure and a real encouragement to hearing from them, and they've really inspired us. So how much is it all going to cost? Well, it's looking like it's about 1.5 million, and obviously we're holding lightly to that because costs of building projects do change along the way. Where's the money going to come from? Well, these areas. Firstly, the church, and we went through a 1 Chronicles 29 program with our church here in Marlow Bottom at the Lantern, and to some extent with all our fundraising. So in 1 Chronicles 29, King David is planning the building of the temple in Jerusalem. He knows he's not going to build it, but he wants to get everything ready for his son Solomon when he becomes king, and he will build the temple. And so David is on a fundraising campaign, and he does that campaign by starting with himself and saying to the leaders of Israel, this is how much I'm giving to this project personally. How much will you give? And the leaders of Israel respond to David's gift, and they give to the project so that they can go to the people of Israel and say, we, the leaders, along with our king, have given this much money to the project. And the people celebrate all that is given. And so we've done something similar so far here in Marlow Bottom. Sammy and I told our church council how much we were giving to the project, and then the church council have given to the project, and together we were able to go to the church and say, this is how much money we the leaders of the church are giving. What can you give? And then rather amazingly, that figure the church together in Marlow Bottom is giving is £410,000. That's from an electoral roll of just 62 people. So we've been really so encouraged by that. So then we come to the rest of the 4U team, and again, with permission of the team council, ask what you can give. We're also going to the diocese and applying for a diocese development grant for the project. And we hope then that we can go to the local community with this, with the excitement of being able to say, hey guys, look, this is how supportive the church is of this project. What can you give? And that will be to local grant making bodies such as Viola and Biffa, the waste management services, and probably people like the Shandley Foundation and other local community grant giving bodies. We will then also be approaching high net worth individuals, as all fundraising projects do. We know of some, and we ask if you know of any that we might be worth us approaching, that you would help us to do that. And then when we've had all that giving in, we can go to the national grant making bodies who so often look to match fund what has already been given. And then once those everything has come in, we can assess the situation, and if needed, we can apply for loans just to take us over the line if needed, so we can get the building up and running. Loans would be from the normal channels, or particularly from perhaps Christian banks who will loan to these sort of projects at very favourable rates, or to people or groups who may be able to make us interest-free loans. And again, if you know any people like that, we would love to hear from you. So that's how we're going to try and fund the project. But we know that the funding comes from God, and we have to pray this money in. So there you have it. But what now? Would you make a pledge to this project? Details of how you can make your pledge and when the pledge will be asked for are coming up. Would you point us in the direction of others that you know who might be able to help us with this project? Or would you point them in our direction, please? Finally, and most importantly, would you pray? Would you pray for this project, that God uses it to build his church and bring glory to his name? Thank you so much for getting through to this point of the video. Will you pledge? Will you point? Will you pray? Thank you.